Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the Monday, June 1, 2020 virtual regular city council meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor.
Present.
Alderman Bolton.
Present.
Alderman Seeger.
Present.
Alderman Mosio.
Here.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Present.
Alderman Newsome.
Present.
Alderman Turner. Alderman Turner. Press the space bar.
Yes, I'm here.
Alderman Rivera.
Present.
Alderman Florian.
Here.
Mayor Cunningham.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay, invocation will be led by Alderman Kirkwood. Immediately following that, we'll lead in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for another opportunity to give you blessings for another day, oh Heavenly Father. And Lord, we ask that you watch over the Floyd family for the loss of a loved one, oh Heavenly Father. Watch over those young people who are out peacefully protesting, oh Heavenly Father. Continue to watch over the officials throughout the country, oh Heavenly Father. The leadership in the political realm, oh Heavenly Father, give them knowledge and strength to deal with some of the uprisings that's happening throughout cities, throughout this nation, oh Lord. But Lord, more than that, continue to bless our officials here in the city of Waukegan and in the county of Lake, oh Heavenly Father. Lord, continue to have us as alder persons, oh Heavenly Father, to work together for the good of the city of Waukegan. Watch over those families, oh Heavenly Father, those businesses. Continue to give us strength, oh Lord, and watch over our families. We ask these and other precious blessings in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, so the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor's comments. One, let us not forget we are still in the COVID-19 crisis pandemic mode. We still have those who are where we have face coverings, 6 feet distancing. Those things are still in place, while at the same time trying to reopen not only of our city, but our state and our country. But everyone, let's not forget that we're still in a pandemic environment, and let's manage ourselves accordingly. Since it's 2020, while the extension has been granted to August to August 2020, we still in desperate need for us to continue to ask and push, not only from the mayor's office to our legislative body, to all of you out there. We need for our community to be well counted so we can then receive the necessary funding in order for us to provide the services that's needed in our community. Last but not least, I have declared a curfew imposed on the city of Waukegan. That curfew will start tonight at 8 p.m. and will go until 6 a.m. until it is lifted. While the horrifying video that shows a man of African-American descent being arrested and the manner in which he was arrested is not just unacceptable in the eyes of all of us, but also to those who are in the profession of police. To grant your knee on a person's neck for well over 8 minutes when he has not shown any resistance. I don't understand that, and obviously others do not either. There are some who have been protesting throughout this country, in particular in the city of Waukegan. The intentions are very, very well met. They're doing a fantastic job of trying to. The unfortunate part is, just in any other society or event, there are some who will do things to take advantage of that. And they did in our community, just as they've done in our community to the south and to the north. We have to stay focused on what the real goal and objective is for those protesters, those peaceful protesters are trying to achieve and the message they're trying to send, and not get distracted with those who are trying to tear up these communities, and more specifically, Waukegan. We're going to do everything within our powers, with the partnerships of all of the cities, particularly on this northern part of the state of Illinois, to make sure that they don't destroy the spirit and the intent of the laws to protest. While it hurts to watch our city be destroyed by agitators, it hurts even more when those who live in our community try to harm their block, their street, the stores of their parents, grandparents, husbands and wives, children. But we are band together. And I'm sure that the alderman will be speaking of this later on, but I can say this right now. The mayor of Waukegan, all the aldermen, an overwhelming vast majority of the citizens of this community all agree that it cannot be accepted nor tolerate the behavior of damaging properties and looting in this community or any community throughout this country. I ask that you all take a step back and see what you're doing. I pray that we will get over this in the best way that we know how, and we would do it in the strength of the city of Waukegan. Take care, stay healthy, stay home. God bless, Waukegan strong. With that being said, item 2, resolutions and proclamations, there being none. Item 3, audience time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 10 statements to be read. They will be read by David Motley. There is a time frame on them. They will be timed. None should exceed 3 minutes. Please go ahead, David.
The first is from Diana Burdett. There is unrest nationwide, and while some may say that here in Waukegan, there are opportunistic individuals taking advantage of the unrest, I hope leadership sees beyond. There is and has been unrest in Waukegan. It has been exemplified by the formation of anti-casino groups, police brutality cases within the jail system, and unrest with a system that does not work for its people, like in the Avian Cotton case. Do not ignore the fact that there is an unrest in Waukegan, because ignoring the problem nationally didn't work, and it will not work locally either. Right now, we need to see a plan, and we are not seeing it. We need to see a plan moving forward after a pandemic, and a plan moving forward to change the system that is not working for us. Your communication system is falling down, and we need more. Hay disturbios en todo el país, y aunque algunos pueden decir que aquí en Waukegan hubo individuos oportunistas que se aprovecharon de los disturbios, espero que el liderazgo vea más allá. Hay y ha habido disturbios en Waukegan. Ha sido amplificado por la formación de grupos anti-casino, casos de brutalidad policial dentro del sistema carcelario y disturbios con un sistema que no funcionara para su gente. Como es el caso del algodón avión. No ignore el hecho de que hay disturbios en Waukegan. ¿Por qué ignorar el problema a nivel nacional no funcionó y tampoco funcionará localmente? En este momento necesitamos ver un plan y no estamos viendo. Necesitamos ver un plan que avance después de una pandemia y un plan que avance para cambiar un sistema que no funciona para nosotros. Su sistema de comunicación está fallado y necesitamos más. Diana Burdett. Number 2 is from Jenny Cordova. What does the mayor or Waukegan plan on doing to help small businesses stay safe during these difficult times? It was very disappointing to see our mayor not in action, not just in person, but on social media. The third is from Justice Morgan. Waukegan City Clerk's Office. The following comment is for the June 1st, 2020 City Council meeting. Mayor Cunningham, I've appreciated and applauded your work and dedication to the city. Finally, putting together the pieces to move Waukegan forward and out of our industrialized past. You and the council have done great work with the limited resources we have in this community. However, last night's events totally destroyed our community. There were dozens of posts on social media that gave fair warning to our emergency services that these kinds of riots would be happening, overshadowing the peaceful protests that happened downtown. The delay in terms of the start of the looting and police response, as well as the call for mutual aid, was pretty long, given the hours of advance notice. We need to protect our local businesses, and you, as mayor, have the power to temporarily appoint special police powers under the direction of the chief. This might be needed until the non-peaceful demonstrations come to a halt. This power is code 1974 30-3-30-5, section 17-3 of the ordinances in the city of Waukegan. Feel free to contact me anytime and stay safe. Justice M. The fourth is from Pat Sykes. I would like to know why the mayor and city aldermen have not enforced the curfew in the city. If this was done, they could start arresting people for curfew violation. That would free up police to be strategically placed around the city. I live on North Lewis Avenue, and the cars of troublemaker and police up and down the street between the plaza area and Target/Jewel area was constant. Please keep our businesses and citizens to stay safe. Pat Sykes. Fifth is from Josh Van Dyke. Hello. The events throughout the nation in the wake of the George Floyd's death make it impossible not to consider the issue of police brutality towards members of marginalized communities. Waukegan has had its own tragedies, such as the death of Avian Cotton, which occurred almost a year ago, and whose birthday was celebrated by some of those left behind today. Given that, I think the public deserves some information relating to what has been done to make sure tragedies like this do not occur again, and the status of any actions related to Cotton's death in particular. Thank you, Joshua Van Dyke, Waukegan resident. The sixth is from Matt Muchowski. America has been cooking with poisonous ingredients since its founding. racism, poverty, machismo, gun violence, and more. Is it any wonder that what comes out of the oven is so awful? So much of what we read in the news is the result of cooking with these noxious ingredients, such as mass shootings, partner abuse, workplace safety, and more. The last few days we've seen George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and Tony McDade, unarmed Black men and women murdered. Their deaths are tragic and painful for their families and communities. We will remember their lives and keep their loved ones in our thoughts. Sadly, though, few are surprised. These murders are the results of decades and even centuries of not addressing and removing racism from the recipe in America. We also shouldn't be surprised if people in the Twin Cities and around the country are refusing to eat such poisonous pies, protesting, demonstrating, and organizing to demand justice. We need to see these demonstrations as the start of a long overdue conversations about criminal justice reform, about use of force by police, about cash bail, wrongful prosecution, also about disparities in how the law is enforced, and more. We need to change the recipe being used. We also need to change the chefs in the kitchen. We need to kick out a president who uses threats of violence online, who equivocates neo-Nazis with the anti-racist protesters, who came to prominence by taking out pro-police brutality ads in newspapers and peddling in racist conspiracy theories. We also need to look at change locally to prevent future similar tragedies from happening here. When Waukegan has an alderman who donated to the legal defense fund of George Zimmerman, the murderer of an unarmed Black teen, Trevion Martin, we need new cooks in the kitchen. When Lake County has a state's attorney who rushes back to Black teens without investigation, we need new cooks in the kitchen. Hearing about destruction last night here in Waukegan has been heartbreaking. We will rebuild, but we cannot rebuild lost lives. We need to address the issues that have sparked this crisis. We need to make a society that values Black lives. Our country has been playing with fire for far too long. We need to extinguish the fire of racism and the belligerent actions of so-called leaders like the president only fuel that fire. I encourage everyone to demonstrate peacefully for justice. I would encourage everyone to learn more about the history of wrongful convictions in Lake County with this Zoom event on June 7th at the 7th is from Dylan Burdett, Council and Mayor. This is a sad time for our city. The protests that happened last night and today are unfortunately a symptom of population that has been pushed too far for too long. I do not know what the answer is, but this is something that we will only move past by working together. There was a protest on the south side of Waukegan today, just a block away from where Avion Cotton was killed. People are still angry about that death and feel that justice has not yet been served. And that is adding on to George Floyd's death. There are no easy answers, but I do not feel that a blanket curfew is the best way to handle this. How can we have peace when people's justice has been denied? I fear that by forcing people with legitimate grievances into a position of illegality, you are creating an environment where further police abuses will be perpetuated during enforcement. When a community feels terrorized, individuals in the community can feel like responding in kind. I hope that we all make it through this safely and can come out of it on the other side as a stronger community. Dr. Dylan Blake, PhD. Number 8 is from Colin Byers. One of the essential topics of discussion at last city council meeting was communication. The discussion in passing $39,000 for the year to Blackboard Connect did not go without some legitimate concerns. As noted by Alderman Newsom, this service is not new, and by Alderman Moisio, there are many other ways that might be more effective means of communication. Alderman Florian gave an example of low turnout during her use of the service, and the mayor concurred that there is about 32 to 33% connect rate. Even though the money was spent, it would be advantageous to consider other options. Now is not the time to wait for a 6 to 7 month process to figure this out. The 60085 zip code has among the highest positive rates of COVID cases in the state and the county. Unless people follow the city, mayor, or council member on Facebook, how will they know about the testing facility? Can people go without a vehicle? Should people go who are not showing symptoms but may be infected? Should others who have been self-quarantining go into order for public health officials and the public to have more accurate positive rate count? Last night, thousands of people learned instantaneously about the peaceful protest downtown and the hotspot on Lewis due to social media. Recently, I learned of a boil order only because I happened to look at a friend's post on social media. And concerned that there is no single way to reach each person, and merely waiting on a company to gather up contact information does not serve our community well during current pandemic and civil protests. The 9th is from Thomas Cummins. I am a citizen and taxpayer and believe that people's right to protest. People do not have the right to loot, burn, steal, kill, injure. This anarchy must be stopped. And the 10th one is from Margaret Carrasco. June 1, 2020, from Margaret Carrasco. 1, Mayor, why wasn't tonight's meeting held at 7 p.m. in person at City Hall? 2, Mayor, last night, chaos and violent like never before in the entire history in the city of Waukegan. I saw hundreds of people, caravans driving in from other places to come and terrorize our city, especially at Ground Zero, Lewis Ave, and Glen Flora. Mayor, you were aware of the danger since the morning, disregarded it, and failed to take the proactive measures. Coordinate efforts to protect the families of Waukegan, such as barricading all entrances to plazas or shut down parts of Lewis Ave and other streets that were dangerous dragways for looters to escape. I ask, now, what is your plan? How are you going to stabilize our town when already right now today at Ground Zero, they are fighting and plans to burn buildings tonight? We need a plan. The assumption that this is all going to go away because you've got a curfew or for people to go shopping is wrong. We need to stabilize our town immediately. Right now, I demand a written response. You once again have failed and demonstrated you lack the leadership in emergency situations. Madam Clerk, that concludes the audience time for this evening.
Thank you, David.
All right, item 4, consent agenda. It's motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Mozio. Items 4A through 4G. J, 4J. Are there any questions to the motion?
Hey, Mayor, Alderman Turner, if you.
Alderman Turner.
Yeah, can we just pull out item C? I just like the correction. Item B and C. I'd just like to hear those read for our citizenry, if you don't mind.
Motion by Alderman Turner for items 4A.
No, B and C.
I know. Motion by Alderman Turner for items 4A, then D through J as consent agenda. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I will be reading the motions. Items 4A, motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from Monday, May 18th, 2020. Items 4D, motion to approve water contract with Peter Baker and Sons, lowest responsible bidder for roadway improvements with an amount not to exceed $5,183,277.79. This project is utilizing 2018A GEO bond funds. Items 4E, motion to authorize Information Technology Director to release a final payment in the amount of $15,203.99 and cancel a contract with Itron relative to a subscription service no longer required related to the water meter automation project. Items 4F. Motion to approve vendor payments in the total amount of $1,818,297.42 dated June 1, 2020. Items 4G, motion to authorize the proper city officials to pay the 2020-2021 Northeastern Illinois Regional Crime Lab membership assessment fee of $126,818. This payment will be made from the line item 100-608-524-436. Items 4H, motion to approve regular payroll in a total amount of $1,587,663.34 dated May 22nd, 2020. Items 4I, motion to approve PBLC holiday buyback in a total amount of $19,042.82 dated May 22nd, 2020. Items 4J, motion to approve fiscal 20 sick cash out in a total amount of $11,290.07 dated May 22nd, 2020. Any other questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor,
Aye.
Alderman Bolton,
Aye.
Alderman Seager,
You're muted, Pat.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Motion's passed and carried. Motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Mozio, to approve an ordinance ratifying and extending the mayor's declaration of emergency through July 7th, 2020. Any other questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Mayor, can we read that aloud, the motion, please?
The declaration, you mean?
Item B and item C, I'd like to have that read aloud.
You want the declarations read aloud?
Yes.
Okay. We have the declarations and we're gonna look those up. I apologize, sir.
No, it's quite all right. Thank you so much.
You want me to read them there?
Yes, please. Since you wrote it, it'd be easy for you to read it.
Oh, probably.
Thank you, James.
This is the first one. This is the ordinance extending the mayoral declaration of emergency related to coronavirus. Whereas on March 13, 2020, the President of the United States declared that a national emergency arising from the widespread threat of serious illness and death due to the coronavirus and COVID-19 was in effect immediately. And whereas on March 9th, 2020, the governor of the state of Illinois declared that a statewide emergency was in effect relating to these same issues. And whereas on March 13, 2020, the chairwoman of the Lake County Board similarly declared that a countywide emergency was in effect again relating to the same issues. Whereas the city of Waukegan and its populace is neither more nor less susceptible to the infection of coronavirus and the COVID-19 disease it causes than the national, state, or county populations. Whereas the city of Waukegan needs access to the full emergency powers established by law, including emergency funding for first responders and containment measures, including all other powers and funding allowed by applicable law. And whereas the mayor of the city of Waukegan exercised the emergency powers granted to him by 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 and section 2-122 of the Waukegan Municipal Code by declaring a citywide emergency exists on March 14th, 2020. And whereas the City Council of the City of Waukegan ratified that mayoral declaration of emergency on March 16th, 2020, as ordinance 20-0-17. Whereas subsequent to that date, on or about March 27th, 2020, the President of the United States declared that a major disaster exists in Illinois and issued a separate order on March 29, 2020, extending social distancing protocols until April 30th, 2020. And whereas the governor of the state of Illinois has issued new emergency proclamations pursuant to law on April 1, 2020 and April 29, 2020, recognizing the ongoing pandemic situation. And whereas the governor has signaled his intent to reissue the state's emergency proclamations not later than June 1, 2020. Whereas the city council finds that it is appropriate, necessary, and in the best interest of the populace of the city to extend the mayor's declaration of emergency, and that the same should be extended to July 6, 2020, at which time it may be extended again pursuant to applicable law and pursuant to further public health information that will likely be available at that time. Now, therefore, be it ordained that the state of emergency declared by the mayor on March 14, 2020, ratified as ordinance 20-0-17, extended on March 31, ratified as ordinances 20-0-24 and 20-0-25, and extended ratified by ordinance of this council on May 7, 2020, is hereby extended, and that this state of emergency is in effect until 11:59 on June 6, 2020, or the end of the next regular city council meeting currently scheduled for July 6, 2020, whichever is later, at which meeting the extension of the state of emergency shall be considered. Be it further ordained that all persons should continue to cooperate fully with all local, county, state, and federal officials with jurisdiction over emergency management and public health in assisting the containment and mitigation of the effects of this virus and the disease it causes. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage and approval pursuant to law, dated this first day of June, 2020.
Thank you, Bob. Alderman Turner. Sounds good. All right. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Passes.
Motion is passed and carried. Motion by Alderman Turner, second by Alderman Mozio, to approve ordinance approving and ratifying mayoral emergency order 19 through 26 inclusive.
Shall I read that, Mayor?
Yes, please.
This is a resolution ratifying mayoral emergency orders 2020-19 through 2020-26 inclusive. Whereas on March 13, 2020, the President of the United States declared that a national emergency arising from the widespread threat of serious illness and death due to the coronavirus and COVID-19 was in effect immediately. And whereas on March 9, 2020, the governor of the state of Illinois declared that a statewide emergency was in effect relating to the same issues. Whereas on March 13, 2020, the chairwoman of the Lake County Board similarly declared that a countywide emergency was in effect, again relating to the same issues. And whereas the city of Waukegan and its populace is neither more nor less susceptible to the infection of coronavirus and the COVID-19 disease it causes than the national, state, or county populations. And whereas the city of Waukegan needs access to the full emergency powers established by law, including emergency funding for first responders and containment measures, but including all other powers and funding allowed by applicable law. And whereas the mayor of the city of Waukegan exercised the emergency powers granted to him by 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 and section 2-122 of the Waukegan Municipal Code by declaring a citywide emergency existed on March 14, 2020. And whereas City Council ratified that mayoral declaration of emergency on March 16, 2020, And whereas the President of the United States declared that a major disaster exists in Illinois and issued a separate order extending social distancing protocols until April 30th, 2020. And whereas the Governor of the state of Illinois issued a new proclamation of emergency on April 1, 2020, and another on April 29, 2020. And whereas the Governor's executive orders, including the stay-at-home order 2020 EO 10, 18, and 32, have been continued, extended, and reissued for the duration of the pandemic. And whereas, in furtherance of the declaration of emergency and pursuant to the various emergency powers delegated through statute, executive order, and ordinance, the mayor has lawfully issued multiple emergency orders attached collectively as Exhibit A, the subject of which are as follows. 20 EO-01, mayoral emergency order prohibiting non-essential city spending, issued March 18, 2020. 20 EO-02, mayoral emergency order instituting reduced work schedule for all non-essential personnel, issued March 19, 2020. 20 EO-03, mayoral emergency order closing city facilities to the general public, issued March 19, 2020. 20 EO-04, mayoral emergency order instituting on-call procedures for essential personnel, issued March 19, 2020. 20 EO-05, mayoral emergency order granting an extension to liquor licenses, issued March 21, 2020. 20 EO-06, mayoral emergency order to stop water late payments and disconnections, issued March 21, 2020. 20 EO-07, mayoral emergency order to extend vehicle sticker expiration dates and renewal rates, issued March 21, 2020. 20 EO-08, mayoral emergency order making limited temporary hotel accommodations for quarantined first responders, issued March 27, 2020. 20 EO-09, mayoral emergency order altering Waukegan City Council rules for April 9, 2020 budget hearing and council meeting, issued March 27, 2020. 20 EO-10, mayoral emergency order granting an extension to hotel, motel, and food and beverage tax filing and remittance requirements, issued March 27, 2020. 20 EO-11, mayoral emergency order replacing emergency order 20 EO-02, instituting reduced work schedule for non-essential personnel, issued March 31, 2020. 20 EO-12, mayoral emergency order superseding emergency order 20 EO-04, instituting on-call procedures for essential personnel, issued March 31, 2020. 20 EO-13, mayoral emergency order extending declaration of emergency and mayoral emergency orders, issued March 31, 2020. 20 EO-14, mayoral emergency order extending and clarifying workers' compensation benefits for coronavirus exposed employees, issued April 6, 2020. 20 EO-15, mayoral emergency order postponing Waukegan City Council meeting of April 20, 2020, and altering Waukegan City Council rules for April 23, 2020 council meeting, issued April 17, 2020. 20 EO-16, mayoral emergency order requiring use of face coverings, issued April 22, 2020. 20 EO-17, mayoral emergency order extending declaration of emergency and mayoral emergency orders, issued May 1, 2020. 20 EO-18, mayoral emergency order postponing Waukegan City Council meeting of May 4, 2020, and altering Waukegan City Council rules for May 7, 2020 council meeting, issued May 1, 2020. 20 EO-19, mayoral emergency order altering Waukegan City Council rules for May 18, 2020 council meeting, issued May 14, 2020. 20 EO-20, mayoral emergency order closing the Waukegan Municipal Beach to vehicular traffic, issued May 14, 2020. 20 EO-21, mayoral emergency order sweeping funds into an emergency cost center, issued May 14, 2020. 20 EO 22, mayoral emergency order allowing limited outdoor reopening of restaurants and taverns, issued May 22, 2020. 20 EO 23, mayoral emergency order repealing and replacing 20 EO 22, allowing limited outdoor reopening of restaurants and taverns, issued May 29, 2020. 20 EO 24, mayoral emergency order altering Waukegan City Council rules for June 1, 2020 meeting, issued May 29, 2020. 20 EO 25, mayoral emergency order amending order 20 EO 20, modifying the hours the Waukegan Municipal Beach shall be closed to vehicular traffic, issued May 29, 2020. 20 EO 26, mayoral emergency order extending declaration of emergency and extending prior emergency orders through July 7, 2020, issued June 1, 2020. Whereas the City Council ratify orders 1 through 13 and extended the city's declaration of emergency on April 9, 2020. And whereas the City Council of the City of Waukegan finds that it is appropriate and necessary in the best interest of the populace of the city that it ratifies the mayor's emergency orders and finds that the emergency giving rise to these orders has not abated. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waukegan, Lake County, Illinois, that the foregoing recitals and those included in Exhibit A are incorporated as findings of fact as if fully set forth here. And be it fully further resolved that emergency orders 20 EO 19 through 20 EO 26 included in Exhibit A are hereby ratified. Be it further resolved that the 18 emergency orders 20 EO 1 through 20 EO 19 inclusive attached as Exhibit A and issued by the mayor are hereby extended through 11:59 p.m. on July 7, 2020. And further, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval is required by law and as enacted by the municipality pursuant to its powers under the state of Illinois and the Illinois Constitution of 1970 and its home rule powers.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Really?
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Alderman, that's it. Motion passed.
Motion is passed and carried. Item I, there being none. Item 6, old business, there being none. Item 7, Alderman Mozio.
Yeah, vacation of Northern Avenue between Aviation Drive and Hart Street, and I so move. Do I need a-
Motion by Alderman Mozio, second by Alderman Seager. Any questions to the motion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Is that an aye?
Yes, he said aye.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
She's
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right. Just for correction, that a second motion, Alderman Seager, I'm going to change that to Alderman Florian since that's in her ward. Is that okay, Alderman
Yes, sir.
Seager?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item B.
Item
Oh,
B,
I'm sorry.
resolution declaring certain city-owned property along Persian Road surplus and referring it to the Planning and Zoning Commission for resubmission. So I so move. That's just a voice vote.
Motion by Alderman Mozio, second by Alderman Rivera. Any questions to the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed and carried.
Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, the General Assembly's adopted an act last week that requires all virtual votes to be by roll call vote.
Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor. Aye. Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Seager.
Aye.
Alderman Mozio.
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood.
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Always supportive of businesses in my ward. I vote aye.
Alderman Rivera.
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Motion's passed and carried. Item 8, there being none. Item 9, closing items, Alderman's time. Madam Clerk.
Alderman Taylor.
To the residents of this city, I want to express the outrage of what I've seen and heard over the last 24 hours. I am absolutely 100% supportive of protesting. Protesting's a peaceful process that should result in locally, if not national, conversations that result in meaningful changes. We saw that for 2 hours of peaceful protesting last night. I was so proud of what I saw. Right afterwards, outsiders primarily started raiding our businesses, not as a protest, but for their own selfish gains. I'm disappointed that with all the social media hype yesterday about Waukegan and looters coming to town, that we didn't have a more proactive approach, whether that be curfews, the assistance of the National Guard, barricades, more first responders. But going forward, I hope to see that Waukegan is declared a disaster area so that we're eligible for help. This is a blue collar community that relies heavily on small business. We have a hard time attracting big box retailers, and it's hard to recover for businesses already suffering the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and now looting and losing more businesses. This has affected our residents both on a very traumatic financially and emotional level. I'm hoping as leaders that we move forward and protect our residents of this criminal element and allow our businesses to get back on their feet. It's so important during this time. It's also past time to have that much needed conversation and, more importantly, on actions on racism in our city. So I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction for us as a collective body of leaders to have those conversations. I know it's right now because of the pandemic that it's important that we're not back on the council floor right now. But I want to say I miss the residents, I miss the audience time, and I can't wait to be back. I've been out in my ward extensively, but I want to be back in the city, and you know, it's time that our residents have accessibility to us. So hopefully, as soon as we can be back, let's be back. I just want to tell everybody tonight to be safe, be careful. Don't forget that we are still in phase 3 of this pandemic. Let's not forget to use those masks and hand sanitizer moving forward. We're not over this pandemic yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bolton. Ms.
You're muted.
Sylvia, you're muted.
Alderman Bolton.
No?
Maybe we can go back to her.
Yeah. She's getting assistance right now. In the meantime, we will go to Alderman Seager.
Thank you. I just want to assure every resident in Waukegan,
Red X means muted.
we'll get through this, as I've said before, and we will move forward. Thank you. Have a safe evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Seager. I'm going to go back to Alderman Bolton. Alderman Bolton, go ahead.
Tess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I know it's already been echoed that injustice is being done is occurring throughout our nation. However, I just want to take this moment to encourage everyone to be proactive in making a positive impact, because we know that we don't need to bring more destruction on our cities. So I just want to encourage you to rechannel your anger and negative emotions and bring a positive change. Like the family and many others have said, justice on the right, peace on the left. So let's be peaceful. And then I want to take this time to also send my condolences out to the families that have suffered from the virus and those that have been lost, even due to the violence that has been occurring. And I also want to thank our leaders and our individuals and our churches for donating food boxes to our community. And I also want to thank our first responders for the service that they are giving. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Mosio.
Yeah, thank you. I hope this doesn't go too long and I don't get too passionate or crazy, but I've been in this town my whole life, except the 4 years in college. And I never thought I would see what I saw last night. I vaguely remember the late 60s and the problems Waukegan had then. I was only a young guy. But again, I echo so many of my other friends and colleagues on the council of supporting a protest and exercising your First Amendment rights. There's no problem with that. But the other stuff that went on, the looting, the rioting, done by, we don't know yet, is just totally unacceptable. At this point, I would like anybody from Waukegan that is caught and convicted, put their ass on a billboard in Waukegan and say on the billboard, thanks, you effed up Waukegan good. Put their face on a billboard so they can be embarrassed beyond belief. As long as they're not minors, I would love to see that happen. We don't know what those numbers are yet, but they need to be embarrassed and convicted and thrown in jail if possible. That's how upset I am about this. And going forward, good people, stay home. All you do is muddy the waters. If you want to protest now, all you're doing is muddying the waters so that law enforcement can't know who is protesting and who is getting ready to create mayhem. If you stay home, if all the good people stay home and choose a different way to protest or another time to protest, hopefully we can get through this. But good people, you need to stay home. Also, good people, you need to snitch. If you know people that were involved in this, you need to snitch. They tore up our town. If people from Waukegan tore up our town, I can't believe it. I can't believe the outpouring I've gotten from people that I went to high school with that are beyond broken. Some still live here, some still don't. But I certainly hope nothing happens going forward. I have talked to many business owners and many residents, and I hate to say this now, but many of them are locked and loaded. Many are locked and loaded, and they will defend their property or their home by any means necessary. So don't come crying to me if one of these fools breaks into somebody's house and gets killed, or one of these fools breaks into somebody's business and gets killed. Don't come crying to this, Alderman. You got what you deserved. Good people, stay home. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kirkwood.
Good evening to the citizens of Waukegan as well as the residents of the 4th Ward. I want to just talk to you for a few minutes regarding some expectations. Last night I was on Genesee, I was on Washington Street, and I saw the cars and the horns blowing. When I got to the corner of Washington and Jackson, I saw them breaking into the Family Dollar, and then went on down to Washington and Lewis, and they broke in the mobile station there, T-Mobile, as well as into Washington Street and Wisconsin. Those individuals came prepared. They had hammers. So they weren't a part of that peaceful protest. This morning at Family Dollar, it wasn't boarded up. there was an individual getting ready to walk in and take something out. And I raised the question, what are you doing? He said, I'm just going to get some potato chips. I said, do you want to go to jail? You see the store has been damaged. I called 911, the police came out. I called Mike Hewitt. I called Mike Pertel. We're getting those individuals' stores boarded up. But once again, we got to make sure that people just don't fall into the crowd and get involved in things that they know are not right. We can plan all we want, but when we have people from the outside come into our community and blend in with everyone else, it's hard to catch everyone. But as parents, relatives, we need to know where our children are and our relatives are. The noise level was high. There's videotape that will be shared with the police department of people breaking in those particular areas, and we hope to prosecute those individuals. But if we're going to be a safe city, we need to work together as a team. We can do all the planning we want, but there are going to be individuals that are going to do things for their own selfish gains. Those residents in the 4th Ward, I want you to also be aware of your responsibility of making sure that our city still looks good. The garbage areas around the city, cutting our grass, making sure that we only put out so many bulk items. Also, we need to make sure that we continue to communicate. Yes, it's difficult when we're not person to person, but I'm in my ward on a regular basis talking to the residents. We'll eventually have a virtual meeting sometime in July. We're trying to work out the details of that. But we got to stay Waukegan strong. Everyone on this council wants what's best for all the residents of Waukegan. We got to work together, not only in Waukegan, but Lake County. Let's have a great rest of the week and let's be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Newsome.
Thank you. I guess it's needless to say, I've been up all night. And then, well, I guess I went to sleep about 3:30 and then back up out at 6. I was pleased to see when I went out that everything was pretty much cleaned up. So I give kudos to the Public Works Department, who all was involved with making sure the streets were cleaned up. Because looking at video, it was a lot of debris and everything out there. So kudos to Public Works Department for getting out there and cleaning up. And also to Mr. Dwayne Springs was out there when I got out there this morning at 6. He had a crew that was over on the corner by the gas station sweeping up, and then some other individuals came to assist him as I was out walking through, talking to some of the business owners. So I want to thank him for coming out and assisting this morning. I take this very seriously and I take it personal because this is where I live. I'm just a minute and a half away from there. They could have threw anything and it hit my house. So I take it serious. And I walk this area several times a week, up and down Lewis Avenue. So, and I understand the plight. I understand what we've been going through for centuries. But this is just scratching the surface. We got to get to the root of the problem. And that's the only way we'll be able to combat this and address this issue. Us as legislators, not only local, county, state, federal, we need to get together and come up with some legislation that will address this issue of racism across this nation. We can see that what impacts another state will come right to our front door. So we need to come up with some legislation that is across the board to address this issue. And I pray that it's done in my lifetime because I don't want my children and grandchildren to keep dealing with this issue day after day, year after year, century after century. We got to deal with this issue and put it to bed once and for all. I want to also thank the police that were out, all the neighboring police that came to assist us last night to keep our residents and try to do our best at keeping our businesses safe. But kudos to all the businesses that were out this morning, taking care of their properties. And for the mayor, making sure he was out with me this morning, making sure that we notify those businesses and let them know that, you know, get a police report, get something, whatever you need to get to your insurance companies, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out with this situation. But also letting those businesses know that we're here for you. I'm here for you. If you have any issues, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I'm not through walking through the area yet. I'll be doing this every day. So with that, I just want to say thank you. Those that were peaceful protests, it's your right. It's your right to protest, but it's not your right to steal, kill, and destroy. That's not your right. So with that, I just say, stay Waukegan strong. We'll rebuild. We'll take care of this situation, and prayerfully we'll come out better than we had when we went into this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Turner.
Thank you. So in the 6th Ward, before I go there, I just want to comment on something Mr. My colleague Greg Moisio stated. I'm very distraught about what happened last night. We all are. But people, you got to stop. I'm going to tell you, I received 37 phone calls, numerous texts, emails, and messages of other sorts, but I received 37 phone calls from people in my ward, many of whom are scared and many of whom are angry. And as Greg said, these people are not playing. Do not try to go in somebody's house. It's not going to turn out well for you. Okay. I did receive also amongst those 37 calls, several of them asked the question of why are the flags flying at half-mast at Station 4 and City Hall. I didn't know how to answer those questions. I know that only the president and the, according to the flag code, president or the governor can order flags flown at half-mast. So maybe there's an answer for that. Excuse me. I want to ask and remind all of our residents to keep a wary eye, always, but particularly now. So even though there may not be crowds in the streets, there are people who are looking for and committing crimes of opportunity. And I really don't want anyone to be injured or accosted in any way, homes broken into, or anything of that nature. So as always, keep a wary eye, not just for yourself, but for our neighbors. Excuse me. There were several businesses in the 6th Ward that were damaged overnight. All of them, any damage to a business is significant. All these businesses operate on an extremely thin margin. They have insurance on most of them, but regardless, it's people's property, and just as you wouldn't want your property destroyed, they don't want theirs destroyed, and it also affects their livelihood. And with that being said, I have a special request from the Dollar General store, 741 Glen Floor. That's right by St. Annie's School. It used to be the old video store, and they're asking for volunteers tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. to help clean up the interior of the store. They did a great job cleaning up outside, but they're going to need help with their inventory and so forth. If you got half an hour to help out anytime after 8 a.m. tomorrow, 741 Glen Floor. And speaking about our local businesses, I also would like to encourage people to, as the state and the city and the county begins to open up, please support our local businesses. In the 6th Ward, we have, my last count was 117 small businesses, including grocery stores, salons, barbers, every service that you might need, we have in the 6th Ward. And I'm asking that you and my neighbors would please support our local business owners, restaurants, ice cream shop, all of it, gas stations, car repair, etc. Excuse me. I am happy to report that and I want to thank the crew that went out and resurfaced the entirety of Johns Mansville from North Avenue to Western. They did a fantastic job, and the neighbors up on Johns Mansville are excited. Now, with that, I've also had numerous people ask, well, when are you going to do my street? And I do have a partial list or a list of the 6th Ward that's going to be done, if you just bear with me. So we're looking at the next on the list is the 200 block of Gillette. That's between County and Sheridan. The 400 and 500 blocks of North Avenue. That would be between from Franklin down to Julian. The 200 block of Ridgeland between Sheridan and County. The 300 to 1200 block of excuse me, Sheridan Road. That's from I think Corey up to Glenflora, and then the 900 and 1000 block of Woodlawn, that would be between Jackson and Linden. So those are on the list, those are coming. And I'm just very excited and happy that we are able to put this project in place. A lot of people had a hand in that, the mayor and Mike Hewitt, Pat Needham up at Public Works, and then we've got our contractors and so forth out there. So I'm very delighted with that turn of events. With the last meeting, I announced the reinstitution of my 6th Ward rewards program, and that was $1,000 reward for illegal guns or shots fired in the 6th Ward. And then I had $500 for the property crimes, animal abuse, or neglect, which we have a severe issue there that I'm working on Center Street. But in light of last night's damages, I'm going to increase that reward for property crimes, violent crimes, burglaries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All categories of crime in the 6th Ward. If you give us information that leads to a conviction, I'll give you 1,000 cash dollars. That's my money. It's not tax money. As always, you can please contact me at 847-445-3788 or email me either at the city is keith.turner@waukegan.il.gov for gov, or my personal email, keith@keitheturner.com. That's what I have. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Alderman Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want to start off with what was indicated earlier regarding the census. Please, everyone, just a reminder, it has to be completed, and it is to our advantage to make sure that we are all counted. We desperately need to make sure that the funds are appropriated properly. Also, to continue to be mindful regarding the status of the COVID-19, we're still in this whole situation. Please use your best judgment when you are out, and continue to stay safe. Thank you to all the first responders and the essential workers that are still out there. There's going to be a lot of more contact being made, and I'm sure that's a worrisome situation for them. But again, my sincere gratitude for all they do. Also, earlier there was an indication that we're trying to stop the demonstrations by the curfew, and I just want to reiterate that the curfew is to prevent the looting, not to prevent the peaceful demonstrations. I believe we all support peaceful demonstrating in many ways. But on the back end, we have the negative issues that come up with that, again, being the curfew. I drove around this morning, saw Alderman Turner out there also. There was a lot of damage. There's a lot of people that are worried. A lot of people are scared right now. And I think that the curfew should help us out. But again, be watchful, be mindful. If you see something out of the ordinary that's not right, call the police immediately. Secondly, I would like to concur with Alderman Taylor as she indicated that with our communication, we have to be more proactive versus being reactive. It appears that a lot of the things that are happening in our community, we're reacting to it. And this particular one, I believe we could have jumped in front of it with the notification that we had through social media on Sunday, and also things that were just going around with some of the aldermen. I was talking with some of the aldermen, and they were hearing that we needed to be very, very careful with what was coming up. Other than that, stay safe. God bless. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Florian.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to echo what some of my fellow aldermen have said tonight about the current situation. I'm heartbroken by what's been going on. One of the things I did was look up an article by Clarence Page. He's one of my favorite editorial writers. And he wrote an article about this yesterday in the Chicago Tribune. It was published in the Chicago Tribune yesterday. He talks about a relevant line from James Baldwin in the 1960s that said, "To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time." He talks about, I'm not going to read the whole article, but he talks about the store owner where Mr. Floyd was arrested in Minnesota. And the owner knew him. He described him as a regular customer who was always pleasant. And he feels that Mr. Floyd may not have even known the bill was counterfeit. So here we have such a tragedy over something that may have not even been a crime really, and was over $20 either way. He talks about how it was a startling video, and but I would like to read how he ends the article. And he says, "Justice should not be a question of black versus white. In the true spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., we should come together across racial lines in pursuit of justice and a better future for all. We can begin with learning from our differences. I don't support everything Black Lives Matter leaders say, for example, but I also know that they aren't the agent of fear that right-wing pundits claim. Similarly, I know from a lifetime of experience that President Donald Trump's base supporters are not all Klansmen by another name. We may not always be able to work together, but it's always worth a try." That's why Baldwin's words come back. I know how it feels to hold a quiet rage almost all the time, but I also try to remember Baldwin's next line. So that the first problem is how to control that rage, he said, so that it won't destroy you or anyone else. I believe those are good words for all of us to hear during this time. I'd also like to speak about Planned Parenthood a little bit. We've taken some flack in the media about them coming to town, and again, I'm going to reiterate what some of us have said. It did not come before this council. They are a legal business. They were zoned properly. We had nothing to do with whether they came to town or didn't. I just want to speak about the fact that Planned Parenthood is 104 years old. They were founded on the revolutionary idea that women should have the information and care that they need to live strong, healthy lives and fulfill their dreams. No ceilings, no limits. They're a trusted healthcare provider, an informed educator, a passionate advocate, and a global partner, helping similar organizations around the world. They're America's most trusted provider of reproductive healthcare. They're dedicated medical professionals, and the heart of Planned Parenthood is in the local community. This is a service I believe our community needs, and I for one, am grateful that they're here. Also, I'd like to talk again about committee meetings. I know this is a very difficult platform for us to meet on, but I, again, would like to reiterate, I'd like to see committee meetings come back, if for no other reason that the citizens have an option of contacting us, getting an answer to their questions, and hearing from us when they have questions. I'd also like to address the letter that was read in the audience time about communication. And I know this is a challenging time to communicate with our residents, even though there's so many ways for us to communicate. I just hope we can encourage residents to sign up with the city, either through their cell phone, their landline if they have one, so we can reach out to them when we do have robocalls. I actually got one while we were having our meeting here. And I hope we could look for other ways to communicate through the schools, through the churches, with the water bill, a texting service, if we could get one of those to sign up so that when we do have information, we can somehow communicate to our residents. And on that note, I'd like to know, Mayor, with the curfew, I'm assuming work travel is exempt from that. Is that correct? Okay, you're muted.
Muted.
Yes, it says, part of the curfew, it says all lawful and engaging employment certainly would be acceptable to move about. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that clarification. And the last thing, I just want to remind the 8th Ward, we have a clean sweep scheduled this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's going to be out in front of the mid-lane Lotus Suites Hotel in the parking lot, so it should be easy access. It's from 8 to 10 a.m. this Saturday. So thank you very much.
Okay. I know that somebody said mayor.
Yeah, that was me, sir.
Alderman Turner.
Yeah, just curious. Thank you, Alderman Florian, for mentioning the curfew and the allowance for travel for work. Does that apply to aldermen going out in the ward doing our ward business? When we go
Yes,
out,
sir.
we stuck.
Yes, sir. That
No.
applies.
It's a legitimate work purpose.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well,
Because you know how I am. I'm always up there. Thanks.
just for clarification to Alderman Rivera and Alderman Taylor, just to let you know, typically when there are protests or people want, they normally apply and they go through a process. And that process was never, ever gone through within our city government. We heard about this as you have through some sort of email or whatever. It did not have a source. It did not have a person who was an organizer. So obviously we took this, when I say we, myself, the police department, the fire department, public works, we said, hey, we just took it for granted it was there. So at 8 o'clock, not only was police presence, we had a police officer located right at the initial site where they gathered at. We then had multiple police officers follow them all the way down Grand Avenue and around. So we were more than prepared for them. I guess when you say they weren't prepared, what you didn't know from the backstory, and I wish you probably would have asked, we had well over 150 additional officers on site, on top of being able to call in our own off-duty officers. And as you probably also know, ma'am, sir, that Lake County Sheriff's Department was available to us. North Chicago Police Department and the mayor was available to us. The city of Gurnee Police Department and the mayor was available to us. City of Gurnee, the city of Zion Police Department and the mayor was available to us, which we all used at that time. The unfortunate part is what we tried to do, and I think we did a fantastic job at this. If you notice, there were no injury of police officers. There was no injuries of those who were not only protesting peacefully, but even those with some ruling. Now we made arrests, and we're going to continue to do that. So I think while it may seem on a broader scope or a narrow scope to you that we did nothing and we weren't prepared, I'm here to tell you, Chief Wayne Wallace, Chief George Bridges, Director of Public Works Michael Hewitt, had their guys there all night ready to protect this city. So I think with that further information, you probably understand we were prepared.
I didn't think that I said that we weren't prepared or that our crew did, our first responders. I'm telling you, did a phenomenal job last night. And I know you personally were out also, Mayor.
Yeah.
And I think some of these aldermen were out too. That, I mean, we're doing what we can, but I
Yeah.
think we always, and I know it's something we're all doing, looking is how can we do better?
Yeah, and I
We
agree
will
with
do
you.
that, and we
And-
will do that.
And I agree with you. I agree
Well,
with you.
and I concur with Alderman Taylor. My comment wasn't saying that we, failed at that preparedness. I believe we could have done better with the curfew. Other communities,
Okay.
even though it was hearsay, took it to heart and did institute curfews. And I believe they fared the situation a lot better than we did last night. And this doesn't happen all the time. I understand. I totally understand.
These are
But
phenomenal
this, yeah.
circumstances.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And there's, I have nothing but, respect for the police and their force and the fire department, especially Chief Bridges. So there's, again, nothing against, them. What I was referring to was our preparedness needed to be in the form of the curfew. We were hearing a lot of stuff. Mayor, you and I had some conversations yesterday during the day. And again, there was a lot of stuff being heard, a lot of stuff back and forth. And in situations like that, I always put myself in I would rather explain why I spent an extra $10,000 to be prepared rather than, explain why I didn't spend the money and I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, and we certainly would agree with that. A lot of times we have to balance. We have to balance what we think is credible and non-credible. So I think we had the personnel in place. Obviously today, and as we move forward, we'll look at, we have a curfew in place right now, but I say this, I can honestly say all of us are in this together to make sure that we do have not just a process, but looking forward to improve process as we move forward. And I know, Felix, you and I went through that many years at Allstate, and even with your business, there's always looking for process improvements.
This
and
is
I'm
the
open.
Monday morning quarterback time, you know?
No Monday morning. Listen,
This
there's-
is, I mean, we always have to reassess, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
just what we do. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I do, and I thank you, both of you and all of you, for really mentioning some of the intangibles from that fire department and that public works. Alderman Newsom, you said it. It was about 1:30 last night when the commander, and I was there from NAPA's task force along with Chief Wallace, said, hey, it looks like everything there, but we got a call over, said it is messed up out here. What I mean by messed, it was just a lot of debris. Michael Hewitt, Dave, Dave Bethke, Pat Needham, and there was several others that was in the public works. Mayor, we're ready to go out. They called them in, two sweepers. Then they had two other individuals pushing. So when you woke up this morning, I said, oh my goodness, look at this. And that is the spirit of who we are and what we are. Huge shouts out to those other partnering departments who came to assist us. But this too shall pass. We're Waukegan strong, and we're ready for the next one. We're ready for the next one. With that being said, there's any other comments? Thank you, Alderman, for all of your support and help with this. And let's get ready for the next task in place. Alderman Florian, hopefully by that July, we'll be able to do those things, but we're just really trying to get to, but I hear you, those committees, they really work out much better for us too, from a process standpoint. So there's a motion by Alderman
Mayor,
Rivera.
can I just say quickly, thank you for being out last night and for, all that you've done. This is just crazy. And
Yes.
I know, like many of us, you have not had a lot of sleep and will not continue to have a lot of sleep. So God bless you. God bless you.
I would like to just reiterate a little bit too regarding the situation that happened. Some can look at it as if the city didn't do enough, but had not the city acted as promptly as they did, those businesses on Lewis Avenue would have had a lot more damage than they did. there was only a few businesses that they were able to actually get inside of and start taking items out, because the police department got there so swiftly, they didn't have an opportunity to do any more damage than they did. They were able to break glass, but I think there was two businesses in the plaza. Well, one business in the plaza that they were actually able to take product or items out of. The liquor stores, they were able to get product out of there. And they were so prompt to get to Aldi that the only thing, after they broke in there, they were only able to get some candy bars. So the police acted promptly, getting to those spots. I think the protest that was happening on Washington Street was just a distraction for what they were actually getting ready to go do in this prominent business area. So when we got the heads up that that's what they were doing, police were there promptly to shut that down, where they were not able to do as much damage as they've done in other communities, like burning and really looting and taking out product and stuff like that. They didn't get that opportunity. So I think we did a really good job in taking care of this situation as well as we did, not having ever to have dealt with something like this before. So I think it's kudos to the police department, the mayor, and all that were there acting as swiftly as we could to get this issue under control.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close out on an awesome note here. I was contacted this past weekend to meet Congressman Brad Schneider in order so he can re-give, I hope that's the correct word, re-give 4 medals to a former alderman of the 1st Ward in Waukegan, Illinois, Mr. Marco Montano. Mr. Marco Montano served in the U.S. Army in the Korean War. He was injured, but he received 4 medals, and one of those medals was the Purple Heart. Unfortunately, his medals were, I'm gonna say, lost, not stolen. And he has not had those medals in his possession until this Saturday, where he was represented with the Purple Heart and 3 other medals associated with his service, not just in the Army, but also in the Navy. And as a former Waukegan alderman, and if I'm not mistaken, Alderman Field is a co-founder of the Puerto Rican Society building as it stands today, along with his brothers and his other siblings and friends. I did not know that about him. I've been knowing Mr. Montano my entire life. I said, why didn't you say something? In his humble, he's like, I don't know.
He comes from a family of leaders.
Yeah, so we're going to be honoring him with a Waukegan Proud Award. Unfortunately, he's going to be leaving us to move back to Puerto Rico. I told him I got a place to stay whenever I can visit. So I'm gonna team up with Alderman Rivera, because Alderman Rivera and his family are very, very close. Alderman Bolton, obviously former aldermen of ourselves that have that history here. We're gonna try to do this in the mayor's office before he leaves in June 17th. But this is a great note, and this is the Waukegan we all know and love. With that being said, motion by Alderman Rivera, second by Alderman Newsom to adjourn. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, we got to do a voice vote.
Gotta do voice vote.
Yeah, voice vote. Voice vote, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Taylor,
Aye.
Alderman Bolton,
Aye.
Alderman Seeger,
Aye.
Alderman Mozio,
Aye.
Alderman Kirkwood,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
It's muted.
Alderman Turner,
Muted.
Aye.
Alderman Rivera,
Aye.
Alderman Florian.
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right, motion passed. Alderman Turner, real quick, I was just been informed, the Governor Pritzker gave the order for half-staff of the flags.
Got it. Thank you.
All right,
May
yes, sir.
18th.
Everybody have a great day. I'm seeing you guys soon.
All right. See you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nay.